Here we go. Welcome to the Profit Toolbelt podcast. It's just for builders, remodelers, and GCs. If you serve commercial or residential customers and you're interested in the business of the contracting business, then welcome. Now, in your company, if you're at a place where you're proud that you're already at 1 or 2 million a year in sales, but you're also wise enough to know that you need some new answers to old problems, then you, my friend, are ready. Because this show is all about getting to the next level by working smarter, not just harder. Now, today's guest is all about the mindset of success. It's Jeff Wickersham. I'd be surprised if some of you don't already listen to him on the Warrior Dad podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about something we don't talk about enough: the importance of fathers and family. You can get Jeff or myself on LinkedIn. His name is Jeff Wickersham, and his last name is spelled Wickersham. Here's why this episode's important. We're going to be talking about the mindset of high performers, high-performing business owners. If you're curious, you want to find ways to spend more time with your family or time for yourself so you can be in your best physical or mental health. If you want to control emotions and you want to control your stress and you want to get relief. If you want to get deep with your kids, have a great relationship with them and your wife and your family, or vice versa with your husband and the rest of your family. If you have questions about family technology, all of those things is Jeff's sweet spot. And so today we're going to be talking about the importance of fathers and family. Look, there are simple systems to help you run this business. We talk about those systems a lot. This is the mindset of you as the business owner. It's a different kind of topic than you would expect in a construction podcast, because this is about the business of the contracting business. I want you to find those simple systems. Your mindset is one of those. Those mindset changes, the way we talk to ourselves, is going to help you have that quiet confidence to take this company wherever you want to get to. Do this with me for a second. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, lift your chin up just a little bit, quarter of an inch. Put your shoulders back straight. Take in a deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. That feeling there, that's what I'm talking about. If I had to summarize everything for you in this podcast, it's about the mindset, anyways, of growth and success for you as the owner of a business, of a leader of other leaders, a leader in your community. Now, I just said mindset. So you know what that means. We spoke about mindset. We're going to tell you a couple of dad jokes. Now, why dad jokes? And why the heck bad jokes? And why dad jokes poorly delivered with poor timing? Well, I want to get you laughing. I want to get your mind open to the possibility. Today with Jeff, we're going to be talking about how to relieve stress. Laughter is one of the ways to do that. And I love to laugh, but you also know I'm serious. So let's hit a couple of dad jokes for you here so that you have a chance to share those with your family and strengthen the bond of the people around you, right? A shared joke is a shared experience. A shared experience is what brings teams together. That's what we're trying to do here. So here's a couple of jokes. So a kid goes up and talks to his dad and says, "Hey, Dad, how were people born?" So the dad sort of looks around, scratches his face. He's like, Adam and Eve made babies, and then their babies became adults, and they made babies, and so on. The kid's like, "Okay, Dad, thanks." Then the kid goes to his mom and says, "Same question." And she says, "Well, we were monkeys, and then we evolved to become like we are now." Well, the kid's confused. So he runs back to his dad and says, "Hey, Dad, you lied to me." And the dad says, No, sorry, son. Your mom was talking about her side of the family." I can't even do that one with a straight face. That's awesome. Okay, here's a quiz, a riddle. You could share this at the dinner table tonight. Hopefully you're at the dinner table tonight. I'll bet you anything Jeff and I talk about that here. Here's a little riddle for you. What starts with E, ends with E, and has only one letter in it? An envelope. All right, here's another family-oriented joke. There's an old couple and they're in church. The wife leans over and whispers to her husband during mass, "I just let out a long, silent fart. What should I do?" Well, the husband turns to her and says, "First off, replace the batteries in your hearing aid." Oh, all right. I love that. Hey, I don't know if you're a fan of Modern Family. It's a great show. Obviously, I'm a fan of it because, the father figure in that runs a company called, and his big competitor is Closets. So he's a trades guy. He's like us, right? He's out there doing closet installs everywhere. Anyways, one of the jokes on the show is Phil. And Phil says, "Hey, I'm cool. I'm hip with the kids. Sometimes the kids text, we're texting back and forth and they're like, 'Dad, WTF?' And he goes, 'I know that means we the family.'" So here, this joke is going to go right along those same lines. So a mom sends a text to her son. She says, "Hi, son. What does IDK, LY, and TTYL mean?" And so he texts her back and he goes, "I don't know. Love you and talk to you later." And so the mom texts him and says, "It's okay. Don't worry about it. I'll ask your sister. Love you too." Oh, we're having a good day today. Okay. This one's going to offend cows. So for those of you in the center of the country, anywhere that there's cattle or dairy, you're going to love this. So there's 5 cows on a farm, right? There's 1 mama cow and 4 baby calves. Well, the first baby walks up to the mom and says, "Mama, why is my name Rose?" And the mama cow looks at her and says, "Well, honey, a rose petal fell on your head when you were born." Well, the next calf comes up and says, "Mama, why is my name Lily?" And the mother replies, "Because, honey, a lily petal fell on your head when you were born." Well, the third baby comes up and says, "Mama, why is my name Daisy?" And so the mama cow again very patiently replies, "Well, when you were born, a daisy petal fell on your head." And at the back of the line, the last baby walks over and says, uh, 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 uh. The mama cow says, "Come on, cinder block, I can't understand a thing you say." I'm going, you know where I'm going for that one. All right. Listen, aside from all the joking, I host this podcast because one day I want to be your business coach. I'd be very proud to do that. As a matter of fact, I have a team of business coaches that I've personally hand selected. As you know, I have very high expectations for the people that join my team, and I'm proud of every single one of them. So I'm going to go into business coach mode with you right now. I have 2 very simple actions for you. Number 1, I'm going to challenge you because in this episode with myself and Jeff, you're going to hear something or learn something or realize something or look at your own life and say, "I need to do more or less of that thing." That happened to me. But on that, I want you to take action in the next 24 hours. And then I want you to pay attention to how that improves your business or your life. I cannot get cinder block out of my head right now. Number 2, I want you to think on this idea. Are you happy being a contractor who feels stuck at 1 or 2 million a year? Or are you ready to learn the steps to get you to the next level? By the end of today's episode, you'll probably still be laughing, but you're definitely going to know the answer. So let's get to it. Jeff Wickersham, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic, Dom. Thanks for having me.
Are you? Well, I was on your show a little while ago, the Warrior Dad podcast.
I love it. Love it.
Yeah. I felt awkward about the costume you made me wear. Now everybody's curious. They're like, what's going on with this episode? It's weird. Hey, listen, I'm glad to have you here. You have a domain of expertise that I think is very interesting for my audience. And so today you and I are going to talk about the importance of fathers and family, which has nothing to do with contracting, nothing to do with estimating or profitability, but has everything to do with the big driver, I think, for all of us is what's our why? Why do we do what we do? And then what are we coming home to and what are we creating at home? How's that for a intro?
I love it. I can't wait to dive in.
Yeah. Yeah. So why don't I put it into your hands? Let me ask you this question, if you don't mind. You ready?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Jeff Wickersham, who the heck are you? And how is it you come to be speaking to all of these forward-facing contractors all over the world?
Great question. And I love to start with the pink wristband that's on my right arm. I lost my mom to breast cancer a little over 9 years ago. So that was the transformational moment in my life, right? The fragility of life 2x4 smacked me upside the head. And I questioned everything at that point. I went down that kind of dark rabbit hole of what do I want to do in life? Ended up leaving corporate America.
Oh, no way. You were in corporate.
I was for almost 20 years, ended up leaving, opening up my own boutique gym because I was into physical fitness. Loved it. My late mother was a school teacher, taught step aerobics in the 80s.
Oh,
and then multiple iterations of up-leveling myself as a dad, husband, leader, man, right? Because I had the vices of alcohol, of porn, of gambling, of, just those things that slowly chip away at who we are as a man. And I kept up leveling. I went through some dark times, even as I was going through that process. And, then I just chose to be the best dad I could be and found the Warrior Dad and lean into helping dads guide them through those dark times, battling those demons, those dragons, those pits they might fall into, helping them, lending a hand to help them to get out of it. And it's been amazing for me personally and my family just to lean in intentionally in my
Lean in.
kids and my wife every day. I mean, it has raised my game,
Yeah.
but it's also raised the game of the dads that I've worked with, and it's been amazing.
I like that you said intentional. So many of the people that listen to this show, and I get the chance to talk to them from time to time, right? That they take being a dad seriously.
Love it.
There's one gentleman, and I obviously won't mention his name here, but he came to me. He's like, "Dom, I want to make more money in my business." It's all very guy talk, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how we entered into the conversation. I want to make more money. I want to have better systems. But what I found out afterwards, and not very long, maybe after a month in, is that he wanted to be the dad at softball practice who wasn't on his phone when his daughter was at bat or in the outfield.
Right.
Because he could see her watching him, and he knew he had guilt that he was still on his phone while it's just an hour.
Right.
Well, baseball game takes longer than that. They go forever. You know what I mean? It wasn't but he couldn't even get that amount of time. That's what really drove him. And that sticks with me all the time. Just that visual.
Yeah. It's so important to be intentional and be present.
Yeah.
And I like to say, answer every bid that they make for your attention because you have limited time with them. I mean, the statistics are by age 12,
yeah,
75% of the time you get with your kids is gone. By age 18, 95% of the time you will spend with your children is gone. Like you have limited time. And I think life can get in the way. Busy, 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 work. It just happens. And all of a sudden your kids are a certain age and you've missed those micro moments that I like to
they're
call
not
them.
kids
You've
anymore.
missed. They're not
kids.
right.
My
and
daughter's
my boys
18
are
now. Yeah.
Yeah. My boys are 15 and 13. Right. So I'm on that downside of that mountain. So it's just so important to do those things.
Yeah. Have you maybe I still want to talk about the importance of fathers and family, but have you noticed a difference in your kids and the kind of people they hang out with based on you leaning in more?
I definitely have. I mean, my eldest just had an example. So I gave up alcohol 2 years ago. And one of the reasons why I gave up alcohol was to set a different path, chart a different path for them and to tell them there's a different alternative to that. Because a lot of the dark times I had in my life was when I was drunk or under the influence and it caused a lot of pain. And I didn't really have that guidance when I was growing up. So, I always love to tell my sons, if you see the herd going one way, the pack going one way, go the other, have the courage to go the other. So, my oldest had a party he went to.
Yeah.
And there was alcohol, there was chewing tobacco, there was vaping. He asked me to pick him up a little bit earlier after we dropped off the girls that we took home. He said, that's just not for me. I'm not doing it. He had the courage, even though his friends were peer pressuring him, to say, I'm not doing it. And I've seen their actions change based upon the way I lead. And it's just amazing to watch. I mean, we were all four of us, the whole family was at the gym this morning at 5:15 before work, working out together. And
I love it.
There's no bonding moment like everybody getting up. It's not easy, right? It's a like Friday.
An early morning
we're filming
workout.
This on a Friday at 5:15. But there's nothing more powerful from a dad perspective to look over and see your two sons on the squat rack doing deadlifts, your wife's on the treadmill, that we're all chasing the best version of ourselves. And that's where true happiness lies, right? It's in that pursuit of us getting there. And we'll never get there. It's a North Star. It's not a destination, right?
Right.
And it's
a
that process. Point. Correct.
Yeah. And I have to be that as a dad. Now my dad, fantastic. I was very fortunate. I grew up in a great home. So I'm not, in my case, I'm not trying to improve on what I had, but I want to make sure that I give my kids the best I can. And I don't know if I have. I've no idea. Only when we find out later the therapy they've registered themselves for will I find out.
Right.
But I love being a dad. Actually, one of the things I say to my kids is I get to be your dad. Because it really is a privilege. Like, out of all the randomness in the world, I get to be their dad. And
I love the language of that, Tom. And I'm just such a huge fan of language. How we speak dictates how we act, how we see life, the frame we see it in, right? And so many people say, I have to get my kids off the bus. I have to go to the gym. I have to go to the grocery store. Do you know how many people wish they got to get their kids off the bus,
Yeah.
wished they got to go to the gym, wished they got to go to the grocery store? And when you say get to your point, it's a
Changes.
privilege. It
Yeah.
changes the frame. And life is so much about perspective, right? You could say, hey, in your contracting business, I got this problem. Okay, well, that feels heavy. You could reframe that and say, I've got this challenge. And when you just say the word challenge, all of a sudden, something just, this fire is stoked inside of you. Like, can I rise to that challenge? It totally changes the game. So I am a huge fan of language. My sons know if they say, hey, I can't do that, I give them that kind of side eye. And I'm like,
oh yeah, we do
there
not.
is no can't. There is no can't,
no,
right?
no,
It's
no,
only
no.
you haven't done it yet, right? That you're
Yeah.
future pacing, you're going to get there. And, it's just, language is just so huge.
It's interesting you say that. Obviously, as a business coach, and I've been a business coach for a long time, I think about language. I still muck it up a lot. But my wife and I had a conversation when our kids were born. Our kids were both born late in the year, which when they start to get in sports means they're at the end of the year, which means they're typically smaller.
Right.
And I just said that out loud. We agreed never to talk about that. We were never going to make excuses that she couldn't do it or he couldn't do it because, they're younger. No. Oh, they're a late baby. I hear people saying that. I'm like, that's an excuse.
Yes.
Find a way to be better or use it to your advantage. Yeah, you're smaller, so you should probably be more nimble or faster, or the play better, or you're more disciplined. But don't worry about, you're never going to be the biggest kid on the field. You're never going to be the smallest kid. You're never going to be the smartest kid. You're never going to be the fastest ever. Not in our family. You're never going to be fast. You're good at carrying heavy things, but you're never going to be that. But you can be a combination of all those things, and that will be fantastic. And so, yeah, I make a conscious effort to be to take language seriously. Let me come back though to our topic. It feels to the reason I came up with this topic, and obviously I looked at your podcast and some of the things that you've spoken about, so I know your expertise. But it feels like fatherhood is under attack. It feels like it's become less respectable or okay to make fun of a dad. And I'm like, where did that ever start?
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think the family dynamic, it's like the beach, right? It's just the waves have been washing away and kind of it's been eroding. And I would say fathers specifically, they've been portrayed definitely in TV and me kind of as buffoons, as kind of, this butt of jokes where, man, there is no stronger power than having a dad lead his family from the front, be that tip of the spear for energy, positivity, for encouragement, for courage, for work ethic, all those factors, because your kids are going to absorb that. They are going to repeat not what you're saying, what you're doing.
What you're doing.
Day in and day out. And I have that always plays in my mind every single day. Do I want my sons to do these things? And it's very powerful when you lead from the front. But yes, I think it's easy to just see what's out there as a dad and punt it, not be in shape, not do the correct things, and just kind of be a passive dad where our kids need us now more than ever. I mean, there's so many different challenges, so many different obstacles, so many different, things from a peer pressure perspective and socials out. It's a difficult landscape to navigate.
Yeah.
And if you can't take care of yourself, you can't take care of your kids. And that's where it starts with us first, but then taking care of the families.
Yeah. So, this podcast is about the business of the construction business, but it's about being a business owner who just happens to be a contractor, which is a very unique position, very unique. Other shows talk about what they talk about in this space, but I like to focus on the being a business owner who just happens to be a contractor. It's a different mindset. It's an elevated mindset. And so sometimes I think, and I've been guilty of it myself, is I'll sacrifice a bit of family to get ahead in business. Just one more estimate. I got to get this project done. Maybe I have to get on a plane to go see that project. And that takes away from family. That's a minus in the family bank account. Yep. And I just want to remind everybody out there, I'm still working at this too, but be the dad who's home when the kids need to have you there. Even if you don't have to be doing anything formal, but just be the dad. be there.
Yeah, I always say you can't get that time back. You can make more money in the future, but you're never going to get that time back with your kids. And those moments, I made a promise to my boys when they were very young. It's one of the most proud things I've done as a dad.
Yeah.
As I said, you make a bid for my attention. You want to throw the football, you want me to rebound a basketball. Unless I'm on like a podcast recording like this or a client call,
Yeah.
the answer is always yes. And when I made that promise to them, it changed they're still 15, 13, still asking me to do stuff.
Yeah.
Because they know I value my time with them. They know I'll say yes, where, if you say no, you're immediately saying that they don't matter enough.
Yeah.
And they internalize that. And then they might not ever ask again, depending on what they're asking for. Right.
Yeah.
So always love to say day in and day out. And it's counterintuitive, Dom, that so many times we think, oh, we're going to just make a little bit more money. We'll be inspired. Actually, if you lean into your family more, you're more inspired to attack
that's what I
work,
find too. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I just find it. Yep.
So you and I are agreeing in general, which is nice. But somebody listening, who's the person that needs to hear today's episode most, isn't. They're like, it's too late. My son's already 17. My daughter's moved out. She's 21. How do I start now? Or what do I do? So from a cold start, let's say somebody feels like maybe they're a little hard on themselves. They're coming at this from a cold start. How do I be a better father when the kids are already halfway out the door? What are your thoughts on that? Or give us some guidance or insight there.
It's never too late. And when you pour into your kids, I had a dad who I worked with, and his stepdaughter was 17, and he came to me and said, I want to build a closer bond with her because she's going off to college next year. Within 3 weeks, he got this message from her, and they ended up going to a concert together. And he's like, I can't believe the closeness when he leaned in,
when he was intentional about it.
When he was intentional, it's not there. If you're feeling a disconnect, I love Jocko Willnick's book, Extreme Owner. You've got to take extreme ownership.
Yeah.
And you need to lean in yourself. And I don't care how many times it takes. You're talking about your kids. You're talking about your legacy. Lean in. And they might not give you any response for a week, a month, 6 months. I don't care. You're talking about your legacy and your relationship with your kids. Continue to do it. Eventually, you will break them down, and they will build that bond if you're late in the game.
Yeah. So, I mean, the point here is it's never too late to start.
No.
And there's never any reason to stop. There's never any reason to stop. I had a client, this is a long time ago, and he was an oil man. Like, he was an engineer in the oil industry. And as I like to say, oil money is dumb money. Like, it's stupid money. So he did oil field engineering, and he was, we were having a meeting, and he'd raised 2 kids who'd gone off to college. And so his son had gotten into trouble in first year college, and we're having our business coaching meeting, and he's a very business minded guy. I mean, he's got that Southern drawl that always makes it sound even more interesting. And he keeps me at the edge of my seat. And anyways, his son had gotten into trouble in college, was on academic probation, then got kicked out and was getting sent home. And there were some other behavioral things going on. And he goes, this is the most profound thing I've ever heard a dad say. He goes, Dom, my daughter watches me to figure out the kind of man she should meet and accept in her life. And my son watches me to see what kind of man he should become. And I got to figure out where maybe I showed him wrong.
Yep.
I was like, whoa, like that one stuck with me. That was a client who taught me something in that moment. I got goosebumps just thinking about that moment. But he was so, like, he took that extreme ownership. His son had failed in college and had done some other stuff I'm not going to get into here. And he's like, it comes back to me. What did I do as a dad that this was the end result? And I thought that, like I said, it's been impactful to me for a long time. I think about that one a lot.
Yeah, that's incredibly powerful. I agree 100% with him. I would also add on to that. One of the things I've loved to do with my boys in their early teen years is give transparency into the dark times and the times I messed up, right? The times, those holes that you can fall into, those kryptonites that you might be tempted to indulge in. Because I love my dad. He was a fantastic dad. I still train him in my garage gym a couple of times a week.
Yeah.
He's 77 years young, still a volunteer fire, like positive, energetic dude. But we never really talked about those things in depth.
Right.
I didn't know that. So I kind of fell to what everybody was doing. I want to equip my boys with the ability to make their own informed decision.
Mm.
And no, dad has been through some of these dark times. So if you have a question, the door's always open. And I feel like that transparency definitely creates a deeper bond and allows them to know, hey, here's some things to watch out for and
Yeah.
be aware of it and the lookout because they can definitely trip you up.
So if I'm a dad though that isn't really aware of it, isn't comfortable talking about feelings, how do I still show that I love them or I care about them, my son, my daughter, without talking about it? Because talking about these things is not easy for everybody. Being a verbal, it might not be that family style. So how do you overcome that?
I mean, hugs, right? Every time they leave the house, right? Give them a physical bear hug, right? There's nothing like the human touch,
Yeah.
right, of another human and giving a hug. I mean, that's one of the most proud things that my wife and I mean, our boys come and find us in the house, hug, love you before they even go play with a friend and, go to a friend's house. They do it every single time and sometimes multiple times.
Yeah.
And that's just a habit or tradition that we've gotten into, that we always find each other, love you, hug, and then they're out the door.
And then out the door. Yeah. I have to, I don't want to talk about us because we're talking to other people, but I agree. I think that's a good rule to put in place early in building a family. So maybe but we're not a family that is physical and we're not a family who's verbal, then what does it start with? A slap on the back? For a son, for a daughter, it might be something else. Like just
it could
touch her hand.
It could be a note, like writing them a note maybe and expressing it that way. Maybe you're not comfortable with verbalizing it.
Sure.
I mean, I write my sons and my wife a note every single day.
Every
before
day?
Before the day, every single
Wow.
day before the day starts. I mean, my son has
wonderful
Post-it notes all over, his youngest son, all over his door. He's got hundreds of them. My wife and oldest son, have them in like shoe boxes, right? And
Yeah.
it's a way of me to verbalize how I'm thinking, maybe encourage them, maybe to say, I'm so proud of how hard you're working, because I want to encourage my boys to have a work ethic that is unmatched, right? And maybe it's, hey, I'm proud of you, because what do our kids want? They want us to be proud of them, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think you can reinforce that enough. Or maybe it's just, I'm so grateful you're my son. I love you.
Yeah.
If you're not comfortable with saying it, write it down.
Write it down. And you say this, and I don't want to say, oh, I did that, but there was one time my son had left his notebook out, and so I just flipped forward a couple pages and I wrote something like, JJ's the best. Let's just write that, right?
Yep.
And then knowing that eventually when he goes through this 10 or 12 pages, he's going to see it completely by surprise, and for me, that's just that would be me. That would be me doing something clever and a little bit weird and a little quirky, but also meaningful.
Yeah.
But, everybody has to find their own way of doing those things, and I guess it could be just as easy as, if you've got younger kids, put something in their lunchbox that they didn't expect, a note. So that's a great point. We have to start somewhere, but everybody's style is different. And I think that's okay. Just have to make that outreach and it's going to come back. If I'm not a good dad, it's going to come back later. It's going to come back later. And I think about that. I tell my son all the time, I take you fishing so that you don't push me down the stairs when I'm old. That's my reasoning.
It is going to come back. And the crazy thing is, Dom, is it when you give, it's not why we do it, but you receive it back.
Absolutely.
I mean, I have a bigger screen to the right as we're recording this. And one day I came downstairs and I had this note: I love and cherish every moment we spend together. Thanks for being an amazing dad. I love you, Carter.
Nice.
You turn the favor. Right. And that's all of a sudden this circle.
And you still have it on the screen.
Yeah. I keep it there always, because we need reminders of why we're showing up, why we're doing the things we're doing as a dad. And when we have those reminders, it fuels you on a daily basis. And it
Yeah.
adds to that fire of how you're attacking life. And it's so important.
You know what I forgot about, and I should have put this at the top of our agenda, is a family business. So somebody listening now, and let's say it's a dad and he's got his son or daughter in the family business, and they've gotten to the point where it's just about the business and they've forgotten the family part. I know earlier you said it's never too late to start,
Mm-hmm.
but what would you suggest? Let's talk about, let's say it's me. It's myself, and let's say my daughter comes in and she's going to be the designer for our company. That's her skill. She's great.
Okay.
But we've come to the point where it's just business, and our personal relationship, our father-daughter relationship, has started to melt away.
Mm-hmm.
I want her to take over the business one day, but it's just kind of like we're just almost an employee-employer relationship. How do I give me a couple of ideas here?
I always go to experiences, right? Getting away from work and have an experience together and commit to each other that we're not going to talk a single thing about work.
Mm.
Right. My boys got a little bit older for Christmas this past year. It was about experiences, not material things like where could we go?
Right.
Could we see a basketball game, those sort of things. So experiences make significant memories.
Yeah, they
So
do.
I would start from an experience perspective and make sure you make a commitment not to talk about work. And then all of a sudden, I mean, it'll come back quick, right? It'll be rekindled. Holy, like, wait a second. And I get a little choked up. I don't know why about it. But then you'll say, hey, probably have a conversation between the both of you. We got to schedule this every month.
We got to do this more. It's
right?
funny
And
because there's a
that's
thousand
the
reasons
practice.
not to do it. There's a thousand reasons not to walk into my daughter's office. This is a made up story, of course, but I'm trying to imagine the conversations I've had with really well-meaning parents, fathers usually, who have gotten into this, business with their kids, and it's disintegrated a bit. So allow me to be there for a second, but imagine walking in and saying to your daughter, "Hey, I just booked us for horseback riding lessons." And we're not a horse. Some people are listening. They're like, "I got 6 horses in the backyard." But for some families, that's not a thing. And she'd be like, "Oh, I don't know. I don't want to ride horses." We're going to go. We're going to learn. We're going to go ride horses. We're not going to talk any business. That's a retreat. That's a business retreat, but we're not going to talk business.
Yep.
And now you're right. We've got a shared experience. Do you realize how much what comes out of the south end of a northbound horse? Oh my God. And I was riding behind you and I got splashed and all of those things. But then, yeah, you smile, you laugh, you share a story that has nothing to do with business. And that's, I think to me, that's being a dad, taking that leadership position but taking it in a way that you think about it. Like I actually think about being a dad and what the impact of that little activity would be.
So true. And one of the things I love, and when I work with dads, we define our identity as a dad. And a lot of dads don't know how are we going to show up? What's their identity as in kind of love is the category I name it.
Tell me more about that. How do you mean?
So here's the thing. In life, we've been kind of wired to take actions upon how we feel. So think about this. When we were growing up, we had the sniffles a little bit. We said to mom or dad, "I just don't feel well." What did mom or dad say? "I take it easy, sit on the couch." Well, that's fine, but that was wiring in to the pattern of we're going to take actions based upon how we feel. And many times in life, especially as adults running a business, like we don't feel like doing the things we need to do. So we might not take action. And then what happens is we spiral down. We feel worse about ourselves. I love to flip it the other way. We got to start with identity first. Who do we want to show up as?
Right.
In the love portion for me, Dom, I define myself as dad and husband of the year. So I every day recite and declare I am dad and husband of the year. So what do you think,
That's
dad and husband of the year? That's my identity. I take action upon that, and then I feel great. Great example this past summer. My youngest son, Carter, was shooting hoops. It was 95 degrees out in the Northeast. It was hot, sweaty. The Phillies were playing baseball. It was air conditioned inside. My wife and I came back from a walk. He said, "Dad, can you rebound for me?" In that moment, I did not feel like it. But in the back of my mind, it said, Dad of the Year. Would Dad of the Year say no?
What would Dad of the Year do?
That bid for his attention. I said, "Yep, absolutely. Let's rebound." I got a little sweaty, but I gave him a hug, gave him a kiss, said, "Thanks for asking for me." Went inside, and it was a great micro moment. Right? So identity, when we define our identity, We take actions upon it versus how we feel, because our feelings betray us. Nobody feels like doing the things all the time that we
Yeah.
know we should do. So I love changing that equation from identity versus relying on your
Mm.
feelings.
There's a lot of intention behind what you're talking about. What made you shift? I'm assuming that there was a shift there. I mean, you talked about your mom passing, and I'm sorry for that. But what was that? Where was the watershed moment? You'd been climbing towards something that wasn't the way you wanted, and then suddenly you're like, this is going to solve it. And you got here.
It was many different moments, I would say, in that kind of breadcrumb line of getting here. One that sticks out to me is I had opened my gym business. I was still hanging out with the buddies till 2:30, 3 in the morning, drinking beer, playing cards. And I was about to teach a fitness class on a Saturday morning at 8. And I went in to give my wife a kiss. And she said, I just got to ask you this. She said, how are you going to go teach a class about health and wellness and you stink of alcohol? And I said, oof, that's a powerful truth bomb. And I always remember it.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
said, I've got to take more responsibility of who I am, right? I can't be doing the things I did in my late teens, early 20s, 30s, in my, early 40s.
Yeah.
And it was those type of moments of needing to level up. And I will say, remembering the last deep conversation I had with my late mother.
Mm.
I was taking her to a radiation treatment. She was going on hospice care. So we knew the end
Mm.
was, out in front of us. And her biggest fear, Dom, was that she would be forgotten.
Oh,
She's got 7 grandkids. They were all pretty young at that point, right? My
yeah.
guys were 6 and 4. She worried that she'd be forgotten. And I remember telling her, and I think it was the proverbial baton pass from her to me. I said, your positivity, your mindset will live on.
Yeah.
And from then forward, I've been on that mission. And have I tripped up? Yes, but every single day is a gift. You know how many people don't wake up today
Yeah.
and wish
I
they
mean,
would have? Right. And what are we complaining about? What are we, so just having that mindset, that lens. Obviously it was my mom passing and, that deep searing pain, but then it was other things of my wife pointing out something or
mm,
just looking at my boys and taking in a micro moment of them, riding their bikes for the first time around the cul-de-sac and just almost being brought to tears because, one, I know that moment is fleeting.
yeah.
2, I know my late mother would give anything
To
to
be
have
there.
one more day to watch her grandchildren. So, those are a couple examples.
Yeah. Yeah. We all have our own, and people listening right now are thinking about their own, and their mind wanders. And you know, I look back in my life at the people that had impact, and one of them I've spoken about him before on the show. He was a contractor uncle who I worked for, Uncle
Okay.
Julio.
Nice.
And I remember we were listening to a song, and we were in the truck going from one job site to another job site, and Cats in the Cradle came on, and he turned it up. And to me, it was a song. Yeah, song, whatever. I don't listen to the lyrics. And he goes, "Hey, Dom, this song tells me how to be a dad." I was like, "What?" And so it was the first time I ever listened. You hear a song, but you don't listen to the lyrics. You're like, nah, nah,
Yep.
nah. And I listened to that song, and I thought, that's how my uncle goes through his day thinking about that song, The Cat's in the Cradle. And if nobody knows, I'm not going to sing it here because we're not doing this interview with me in a shower. In a shower, I'm a great singer, but out
Yeah,
in the
me
regular
too.
world, yeah, I'm no good at all. But that it was interesting that I saw that intention from him. And by the way, he's the one who set me on the path of entrepreneurship.
Awesome.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
I just drew that parallel right as we're talking.
Hmm.
Yeah, he was the first person I knew owned this thing called a business. He had a company. What's a company? Yeah,
Right.
very cool. So we've got a bunch of dads. It's mostly dads who listen, but there are moms too.
Mm-hmm.
And the family's been getting eroded.
Yep.
In the media. Like where can we tie that back to? Where do you think dads started getting eroded or picked away at? Where do you remember that happening?
I mean, it jumps in my mind to me. It's Al Bundy from Married with Children.
Yes, that's right.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, that was like the first dad who was like made fun of by his kids. I
Yep.
like that. I hate to say I like that show, but
wasn't listened to, right? And made fun of and just,
no
yeah, that
respect.
was it. No respect whatsoever.
Yeah. I wonder if that was the turning point when things
I mean,
started to change. And
it was a popular show.
yeah, and they publicized, or they popularized, was that the right word? Popularized that dad's a dummy, dad's kind of an oaf, a goof. Still talking about the glory days.
Right.
Where did Al play? He played football.
I
Polk
forget,
High.
right? But
He played for
Polk
Polk
High,
High.
that is
Polk
it. You
High.
got it. Great
Yeah,
memory.
yeah, yeah. Polk High. Uh, yeah, and here we are now. I see social media, uh, I'm not going to rail against social media. I am not the person to change it, and here we are on it. But yeah, I've got to do something to make sure that family legacy stays where it is. That there's pride. I talk about this on the show a lot. When one of us signs a contract with a client, let's say we're going to do a bathroom or a kitchen remodel. I'll
Yep.
just pick that as one of the many trades we've got here. I put my name that we're going to do that kitchen remodel and we're going to do a great job. My name is my legacy. And my parents came here on a boat, hoping for a better life. They didn't come here to go, oh, let's go over there and be mediocre. Let's just barely skate by. They came here with this massive bucket of dreams. Some of them they put aside so that they could work and raise me. But they came here with a bunch of dreams. And so when I sign an agreement with somebody to do their kitchen, I'm going to do that kitchen. And my team has to help me get there. And my family's got to help me get there. But I also have to remember I'm a dad and I got to be home in time for my kids.
Yeah. No, I love how you just think about that history. Because growing up, I didn't know my family lineage. I mean,
Oh,
my mother's dad's side,
yeah.
I mean, many, many generations. Zachariah Atwill was his name. He marched from Lexington to Concord. He was a Minuteman.
Oh,
Part of my
yeah.
it gives me goosebumps. Like
You
I
think
never knew
about,
that growing up. Why not? That should be at core. Like we had ancestors that were fighting the Revolutionary War,
at
founding this
our
country,
age, well, younger than our age, at our kids' age.
right? But so I think that again, we're talking a lot about intentionality, knowing that hey, I've got to have pride, I've got to have respect, I got to do a bang up job because my name means something. And I think
Yeah.
mediocrity, average, just getting by, it's a sickness and it's everywhere in society because it's so easy to just do that.
Yeah.
Where I don't know about you, I think I do. From the time we spent, I want my kids to chase their dreams. One of our lines in the Wickersham family motto is Wickersham's pursue excellence.
Oh, wow. That's a good one. Yeah.
I mean, because we want to be on that pursuit always of the best version of ourselves, right? And
Mm,
we have a family mantra because I want something to connect us all together that we can call back to in our moments of trials and tribulations or going through difficult times. And yeah, when you know where you came from and the risks others took or the
yeah.
amazing things they did, and that can give you some inner strength. And we need to pull strength from everywhere because life is hard. It's a fist fight, it's a battle, it's a war, and everybody's going through it. But you gotta have those tools, you gotta have those strategies, you gotta have those tactics to be able to show up the best
Yeah.
dad that you can be on a daily basis.
Yeah. So much of this comes back to mindset, doesn't it, Jeff? Like it's a mindset thing. I've noticed that your internal language is what turns you towards your goals. Now, I don't know which
Mindset
comes
is
first, but
yeah,
it is mindset.
that's it. That's it. And we all face that same battle, right? That 6 inches
Yeah.
in between our ears. I always like to
Oh,
say, I
wow. Look
could
at you. I call it the 4-inch problem and you call it the 6-inch problem. I guess we're having a contest right now. But yeah, it
I
is.
always
It is in my head. It all starts in my head. Belief, the imposter syndrome, all of those things. I can only imagine the imposter syndrome for somebody who felt they didn't get raised in a good family, who says, well, how can I be a good dad or mom? I can't speak to the mom thing because I'm not one, and this is, well, I just don't know what to do as a dad. I didn't have a good dad. So I feel for those people first, but I got to tell you, be a good dad.
right.
Be what you
And
think is a good dad or
I will
better.
say everybody brings one or two of those automatic negative beliefs. I mean, I had a great family growing up. I had self-worth issues in my teen years, 20s and 30s, because I was the
Mm.
oldest of three. My younger brother was 3 years younger. My younger sister, 6 years younger. My mom always wanted a baby girl. My brother and I had to fight for her attention. And we clued in that we weren't worthy. And we did things in our marriage both to our wives, like pointing things out. And I remember my wife said, "Hey, what do you want, a cookie?" And I was going to work on a property with my brother. He said, "Holy crap, Jeff. I say the same thing to my wife." And it was like, because we need to show my mom to get attention. So like,
Oh,
you're gonna bring these things. Everybody battles that mental war daily. I mean, this morning I got knocked off kilter just today. And
oh,
it's not that we're going to eliminate the dips. It's how
right.
quickly can you bounce back. And I knew what was happening, but man, I was pissed for about 5, 10, 15 minutes. I was off kilter, but I did some things. I moved the body. I breathed a little bit, and I was like, all right, yep, I'm bouncing back. Right. And the key is, how quickly can you bounce back? Because so many times
Yeah.
what happens is that derails you, and you have 2 weeks where you're just in a funk instead of 15 minutes.
Yeah. There's a great business coach I used to work with. He's a wonderful guy, Dan Creed.
Okay.
And he would say, Dom, sometimes you just got to go outside and kick a tree.
Yep.
Then it's over. So in the amount of time it would take him to leave his desk, go outside and kick a tree, and then come back, that's all he needed to do. Right? Just kick a tree.
I have a heavy bag downstairs. When my sons or we go sideways, throw on the mitts, hit the heavy bag for 10 minutes. I guarantee you, after 10 minutes,
Yeah.
that frustration's gone. You change your physiology, you got it out. Let's go.
Hey, it's interesting you keep coming back. This keeps coming back to fitness. There's an element of fitness in this. I mean, I have a fitness-based family. My wife's a fitness instructor, so I have to keep up. Both my kids are jocks, and I love it. But I think there's an element to fitness here, to burning off that energy, also to the discipline. You know, the thing that I like most about going to the gym is, so I did a lot of martial arts. And by the way, I'm very bad at it. So I was always good to, you always wanted to pair up with me because I could take a punch or a hit or a throw. But
there you go.
But I like the discipline of, when I get there, the sensei tells me what to do. If the sensei says do more, you do more. That's it. You're not negotiating. Just do more, do better. And I like that. I don't have to be a leader in that moment. I have to follow. I have to listen. I have to, be disciplined. And then with my kids in whatever sports they're in, it's that same thing. So I wonder how much that it comes back to fitness, because we've seen a decline in fitness.
We have.
It's an incredible decline in fitness.
It's gone at, the high school level now. Like, you don't even have gym class anymore, right? Which is crazy to me.
Ridiculous.
The physical side is so important, right? I mean, they science now says you exercise, right? You get a 12-hour mood booster and focus booster. It's like a little bit of, Prozac, a little bit of Ritalin. That's basically what they say from those endorphins.
Yeah.
And the physical side, I will tell you, unlocks mental strength. When you do difficult things physically, I did the David Goggins 4x4x48 run 2 years in a row.
Okay.
Yeah. Run 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours straight. It's basically 2 marathons over a weekend. That unlocked a next level of mental strength in me, where this past year, I created my own challenge. I didn't want to run a marathon. So instead, I said, I'm going to do 26 rounds, a 1.01 mile run, 50 pull-ups, 75 sit-ups, and 100 push-ups. It's a full marathon, 1,300 pull-ups, plus 1,950 sit-ups, and 2,600 push-ups. It took me 16 and a half hours. It was the most physical and mental pain I've ever been in my life. But you know what happened when I finished 11:30?
You did it. And look at how you listen to your voice, the tone of your voice.
And my oldest son, came down an hour afterwards when I was trying to get some food in. And he said, Dad, I'm so proud of you.
Yeah.
I said, how many dads, 1 in a million, 1 in 10 million, could have did what you just did? Yeah. And that unlocked a next level from a mental strength perspective. And we don't push ourselves enough physically. I'm talking on this podcast with a stand-up desk. I've got a 65-pound kettlebell to the left of me that I swing throughout the day. We need to move physically. You want sustained, infectious energy. You got to be in shape. And it's so easy to not be. It's so easy to eat crappy.
No, it's hard.
Sleep crappy.
It's hard to not be now. I mean, but it's become a part of my life. When my kids get snarly, because sometimes they do, we're always like, go for a run. Go for a run, and we'll talk about it after. And I've started this. It's probably been 4 months now, but my buy-in for watching TV, because I do, like, at the end of the day, I like to turn off my brain and watch TV.
Yep.
So, but my buy-in is I have to do a minimum of a 1 minute plank or get on the bike. And the bike
There
is
we
at the
go.
back of our living room. But the other day, my son came in and at the same time as I did, and he goes, "Hey, we're going to do the plank now." And I was like, I didn't even know he knew I was doing that.
Yeah.
But I do a 1 minute plank, and it's, I try to add 1 second every time I do it, right?
Right.
But I'm still around a minute.
No,
It comes and goes. It comes
you
and goes.
gotta have
But I
those
got to do
things.
it. But I got to do it. You have to do it. And there's been times I haven't done it, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, I didn't do the plank. I didn't do the plank, and I just get up and I do the plank because I said I got to do the plank before I earn the TV. It's 1 minute. You can do anything for a minute.
Correct.
It has to start somewhere.
Yeah, the physical side unlocks so much mental strength. It is doing those hard things, and your body, our body and our minds are the greatest adaptation machines known to man.
Oh
They
yeah, I mean
grow,
it is. It's
they now the brain is, you know, plasticity, it can change, your body can like, and as a dad, being
yeah.
in shape, man, your kids are gonna, that's why my kids are in the gym. Right. And it was ironic the other day. I took Jackson through a workout and he said, we were supersetting some things. He couldn't do it. And he's like, "You're freaking crazy." And I'm like, "Yes, I am." And a guy we both know said, "Are you trying to keep up with him?" And I said, "Hold on, sir. No, I'm the head lion. He's chasing me. I'm running fast." Right. And that
Yeah.
it's again,
Because
that
one day it won't
circle,
be. One day it
right?
won't be. Yeah.
They're pushing me, but I'm pushing them. And it's that back and forth that's just so, we mentioned it from a note perspective earlier. I love same thing in the fitness side, right? I mean, and who's setting the tone for the family? I am as the dad, right?
You're reminding me of a great story that just happened last year. So my son just turned the age when he can get his own elk draw. Like
Okay.
there's a lottery system where we're hunting. And so he gets his first elk last February, and it's in this farm
Awesome.
field way up north. And it was cold and frozen. But as you know, like a wheat stubble field is not flat, right? But it's way out on the far end of this wheat stubble field that we get it. So it's me, my dad, who at the time is 84. There's me,
Okay.
and there's my son. And so my dad's 84. Like we're in the middle of nowhere dragging
Right.
an elk out. And I say to my son, you have to, you have to fall on the sword here. You've got to be the one that says, I need to stop and rest. So we put a rope on the quarters and we're dragging it out. And my son Joseph goes, "Okay, so what do I do, Dad? Like 10 steps, 15 steps, like that. Every 10 or 15 steps, just stop, say you need a rest." So he stops for a rest. And my dad stops as well. And then we go another 15 steps and we stop. And my dad goes, "What's wrong with you? You're a big athlete. You play lacrosse all the time. We're stopping every 15 steps. I've been counting. What's wrong with you?" And my son looks at me, and you could see that look like, "Dad, I'm gonna lose it here."
Right.
And I said,
right.
"Buddy, you just keep doing it." Because we can't, my dad would just keep going.
Right. Yep.
He would just keep going. And then he's going to have a problem. I'll say, I don't want to say the words out loud.
Yep. Yep.
But as you told that story, I just envisioned that same thing. My poor son, who's like, he's a bull. He's way conditioned. He had to stop to make sure that everybody was okay. So it's that lion chasing the, what did you say? The lion chasing the king lion?
Headline. Yeah. The head lion is
Yeah.
being chased by the cubs. Yep.
Yeah. Hey, listen, this has been fantastic. And I think a lot of people listen to this episode and they're like, that was good. But there's a few people listening who've heard this episode and thought, okay, I've been waiting to hear this. So with that in mind, if people need to hear more and want to find out more about you or maybe listen to your show, how do we find you in this big wide world?
Yeah. Maybe they felt that calling, right? That whisper. I feel like it's that whisper of your potential and being the best dad you can be that we all feel. If you felt that, you can go out to www.thewarriordad.com. Got a ton of content out there, or you can search up the podcast that you were on, Dom, right? The Warrior Dad podcast is out there as well.
Yeah, great. Well, this has been great. We do mental health episodes from time to time, and I think it's been too long since we've done one here. So I appreciate you coming on, because I put this under the mental health category, even though you and I talked about entrepreneurship and leadership. It really has a lot to do with mental health and physical well-being. So I really appreciate you being here. Folks, if you liked what Jeff had to say, reach out to him and let him know that. All right, Jeff, thanks, man. It's been great to have you on the show.
Thanks, Tom.
Okay, talk to you soon. Well, what did you learn from Jeff? And what can you put in place? You heard a lot of great stories and mindset shifts in today's episode, right? So the idea behind these changes in mindset is you're going to do this very slowly over time, just a different way of seeing the world, different way of thinking, acting, reacting, taking a different stance, taking ownership and responsibility for your actions as a father. Now, of course, if you're a mom, you just translate that into being a mom, right? But how do we act? How do we show up as a parent? How do we show up as a leader in our family? That's what I really appreciated about what Jeff was talking about today. So what we're going to do is I want to simplify and solve a common problem for us as business owners. So I want to talk to you about a tool that I have that I can share with you. I mean, of course, you can go listen to more of Jeff on the Warrior Dad podcast. Actually, before I do that, remember to connect with Jeff or I on LinkedIn, Jeff Wickersham. But hey, there's a whole bunch of people that have joined the Contractor Strategy Group. Now, it's a free group on Facebook. So free is, yeah, you're thinking, well, it's not worth it. Look, the group is, I control it pretty tightly. Selling's not allowed in there. It's only questions. It's only questions from other contractors in the trades who are the owners of their businesses. So it's a serious part of Facebook, if there is one. Join. Here's the people who've just joined in the last little while. Now, I may miss some names, and for that I apologize, but here's the names that I have on my list. Doug Vorndran, Nick Alberta, Pat Clough. Sorry, Pat, I probably butchered your last name, but I apologize. Penny Carl Ostad. I also butchered that last name. Dylan Joel. Chris Riggins. Hey, Chris. It's good to see Chris there. Hey, Chris. Accurate Dimensions Kitchen. Seaweed UK. Oh, one more from the other side of the pond, as we say. So it's nice to have a cabinet maker for over in the UK. There is a company here called Saw Wood. Thank you. I get the joke. Frank Slinger, Stephen McGough, Nestor Amaya, Randy Vandemark, Stephen Gugere, Aquila Echev. I'm sorry, Aquila. I probably butchered your name. Travis Black. Travis, I'm guessing I did not butcher your name, but maybe there's another pronunciation. I'm not even going to attempt it. Ben Holm, Charles Hammondtree, Kevin Hill, Joe Corliss, VKK, John Warkulik, Adam Dixon, Eddie McDonald, Ted Kligro, Mike Nowotniak. Oh, actually, Mike is now in boot camp. Mike, I'm glad you got in here. And Ramon Fergoso. Ramon and Eddie are in boot camp. So anyways, there you go. There's a whole bunch of new people that have joined the Contractor Strategy Group. I'll tell you what, we don't post a ton in there, but when we do, it's a question about the business of the contracting business. And then the other people that answer are actually other business owners, not trolls sitting there in their underwear with a can of beer, a warm can of beer, posting comments and just trying to get a rise out of everybody. I don't have any time for that. This is all other business owners talking to business owners. So I hope you enjoy it. Anyways, I want to help you solve a common problem. And based on Jeff today, I'm going back to something that we talked about at the beginning of the year, which is the Healthy, Wealthy, Wise Planner. If anything in you sparked interest in what Jeff and I were talking about today, why don't you download this? It's a free download. Just send me a text message that says Healthy, Wealthy, Wise. My cell phone number is 315-903-7853. The document's only 5 pages long, and almost all of the pages are instructions. And then the middle page is 3 rows and 4 columns. But how you use it, how you put it together is the thing. And what I want you to do is think about yourself from a personal angle, a family angle, and a business angle. Imagine that's down the left side. And then across the top, healthy, wealthy, and wise. So what does it mean for you to personally be wealthy? What does it mean for you to have a family that's wealthy? What does it mean to have a wealthy business? It's not always money. I've been at this long enough to know that many of us out there aren't all about the money. We might want time to spend with our aging parents, time to spend with a kid who for some reason isn't as close to us as they used to be, or we see them making what we think are bad decisions, but we still want to be there for them for when they're ready to come back. What do you need as a leader, as a parent? And by the way, this is for family, but it's also for the people we take care of in our company. It's a really nice exercise. It's a great year starter. I mean, it's only April as I'm recording this, but you can do this exercise anytime. It doesn't have to be a January 1st thing by any means. Anyways, I'd like you to have this. Like I said, there are, it's mostly instruction and examples pages here. The middle page is the actual worksheet. So what I want you to do with this is what I want you to always do. I want you to print this off. I want you to leave the office, put yourself on Do Not Disturb. It's 1 hour. Tell people you're going on an estimate. No, tell people you're with your business coach, Dominic, and you can't be disturbed. Print that thing off. Go to the nicest coffee shop in your town. By the way, I went to a Starbucks. I was just on a road trip. I don't know if you guys heard this, but I went to Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Connecticut visiting some clients up there. I was actually speaking at an Amish business conference. Pretty cool, right? And so because I was there for a couple of days, I went around and saw some of you. Hello, all of you who I saw up there. But you know what? I went and met some people at a Starbucks, and it was kind of cold and impersonal. And I thought to myself, every single town has a place that's better or nicer or much more upscale than Starbucks. The reason I want you to go to an upscale place is because I want you to get in that mindset of what success could look like. Listen, if you want to go to the stable and be there with your horse, if that's your happy place, fantastic. Do that. Print out the document, go there. Don't let anybody bug you. I don't know if you've got a desk in your stable, but go there, just be around your horses, but think about things that make you happy and do the work. Maybe you want to go sit on your boat. Maybe you need to get to your cabin or your cottage. It's springtime. We're starting to open up our cabins and cottages, right? It doesn't matter to me where you are. I just want you to be in a place where your mind is free. That's why I start with the jokes. I mean, I like jokes, don't get me wrong, but if they weren't in the podcast, would it matter? Well, yeah. The reason I put the jokes at the start of the podcast is about mindset. It's about opening ourselves up to the opportunity, to the potential for smiling and laughing when all day you're dealing with change orders and somebody who's mad that you're late, even though you're there early and did extra work for them you're not charging for. I need you to laugh. I need you to see the bright side. I need you to be pulled towards the future because that's what entrepreneurs do. We keep our eye on the prize. Getting to the next level means you probably can't see over that hill, right? And that's why we laugh. That's why we smile. That's why we do this exercise. Look, I've said this before. If you want to use the coffee example, take a picture of yourself working on the document and I'll buy your coffee for you. You just take a picture, send it to me as a selfie, send it to the cell phone number 315-903-7853, and I'll send you $5. I won't send it to your coffee company. I'll send it to you as an Amazon gift card, but it's $5. It's going to buy you a coffee. I don't know what to do if you're in a stable with your horses or if you're in your boat, but send me a picture of that. But send me a picture of you working on it. Take that image, that point in time, and say, this is me being an entrepreneur in my business. As Jeff and I were talking about taking control, about being a leader, about doing the things other people won't do. That's what business people do. That's what successful business people do. Leave a legacy. I want you to keep this in mind. The work you're doing now, the deals you're talking to right now, for the work you're about to give your crew or put through your shop or put through your warehouse or have your crew working on, that's going to pay wages to the people in your city. They're going to use those wages to take summer vacation, to put their kids in travel sports, to have enough money so that their wife can go on a trip for her choir, right? Or, and this is one I always think about, you're going to be putting Christmas gifts under Christmas trees in December because you're giving a great living wage to the people on your team. And with confidence, they're going to be able to take that salary or that hourly wage and buy gifts for their families. Please never underestimate what it is you do as a business owner. And here you are studying even more, listening to a show like this. Anyways, you might think I'm off on a tangent, but I'm not. I want you to get the Healthy, Wealthy, and Wise planner so you lay out your future your way, the way you want it to run. That's what this is all about. To get the Healthy, Wealthy, Wise planner, just shoot me a text, 315-903-7853. Thanks for checking in, folks. This is Thin Soup until the day when we can have a cup of coffee or a glass of wine across the table. And I look forward to that more than you will ever know. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.